we have some fantastic speakers, fantastic people with great stories to share, to empower and motivate us to accomplish our highest dreams. I would like to first of all introduce our first speaker. She's a fantastic person by the name of Dr. Joyvina Evans. She's the author of 2 fantastic books. She's going to talk to us today about going from chaos to confidence. She's the owner and founder of the Confidence Academy. And tonight, she's going to teach us a lot of stuff. And with that, I would like to ask you to give a special round of applause to Dr. Joy Evans. Dr. Joy.
What actually happened is that I went through a really tumultuous season. And I was engaged to be married. We had everything done. I had everything from head to toe, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. The limo was booked. We were in bridal magazines. We were in newspapers, everything. And even though I knew that this man, I knew that he was not my husband, I was still willing to go through with it. He was a good man, but he was not my husband. I was willing to go through with it for the simple fact of wanting children, wanting to go ahead and get married. I was ready to establish a life. I thought that's what was next, because certainly I had the career, I had the education, so now this is naturally as the next step. But what I realized is that my self-esteem diminished, my self-worth diminished, especially when we ended up calling off the wedding. All of that diminished because my self-esteem and my self-worth was tied to the man that was on my arm. Well, shortly after we called out the wedding, I received a call my godfather was killed. He was killed in a motorcycle accident, no helmet, hit by a semi-truck, died at the scene in Houston, Texas. And he was actually, even though my biological father was living, he was the man that was going to give me away at my wedding. So I really, really took it extremely hard, very, very hard. Well, right after that happened, I received another call that my aunt, the reason that we moved to Michigan from Virginia, that she literally just dropped dead. Have no idea what happened, but received the call that she dropped dead. My mom and I went to her house, and we were waiting on the funeral home to pick her up, and she was just laying on the floor, lifeless and dead. So had to help my mom get through everything and deal with losing her sister. Had to get through the things that I was going through in terms of literally I had to grieve what I thought was my future. I had to grieve that relationship. And even though he was not physically dead, I still had to grieve that relationship. I had to grieve my godfather. I had to grieve my aunt. And then now I have to try to help my mom deal with what she's going through. Well, I got back to work, and I was greeted with an email. There was an email from a coworker with an attempt to assassinate my character. Literally, she said everything that she could have said while I was gone, funeralizing, burying my aunt. And at this point, I was just like, you know what's going on? Why does this keep happening? And sometimes, if we'll be honest, a lot of times we ask the question, why? And I realized I started getting angry. I was bitter. I was resentful. And I was angry. I was bitter. I was resentful. To be honest, I was mad at God. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my ex. I was mad at my godfather because he should not have been on the motorcycle. I was mad at my aunt because she never went to the doctor, because she didn't like doctors, and she had a huge mistrust of doctors. So we don't know what was wrong with her. To this day, we have no idea why she died. So I went through this whole season where I literally was annoyed, I was frustrated, and I became really depressed. But here's the thing is that I was emotionally paralyzed because I couldn't cry, the tears had dried up, and I couldn't feel, I felt numb, but I realized it was a depression. So for me, what I had to do was, I literally got to the place, and I'll say this, no offense to anyone, but I am unashamed of my religion and my Christianity, so I am a believer in God and Jesus Christ. So I'm going to say for me, I had to literally fall out and cry out to God in terms of, help me. And I literally became like this woman in the Bible. She was the woman with the issue of blood, and I felt like whatever I have to do to be made whole, whatever I have to do to be made whole, whatever I have to do to be made whole. And so I literally had to saturate myself with positivity. I had to saturate myself with the Word. I had to saturate myself with literally faith-based books as well as sermons. Those were some of the things that helped me. But more than anything, I had to make a decision that I was not going to stay in that place of depression. I was not going to stay in that place of defeat. I was not going to stay in that place of failure, because to be honest, I felt like a failure, because certainly, it was me that caused everything to go wrong in the relationship. Certainly, I should have just kept my mouth closed a little bit more. Certainly, maybe I should have tried harder and things would have worked out. So I literally started feeling like a failure. But there is a but. I ended up applying for different positions at University of Michigan, and I accepted a position at U of M in Ann Arbor, and that was literally the turning point for me. When I accepted that position at University of Michigan, I started meeting some dynamic people. I got hooked up with a dynamic church, a dynamic pastor, and things started changing for me. That was the turning point for me, because I literally knew that what it was that I was called to do. I knew that I didn't go through all of those things just for myself. I went through those things so that I could tell somebody else, so that I could help someone else, and I didn't go through it for myself. And so from all of that chaotic season, actually, again, dealing with the self-esteem issues, the self-worth issues, what actually was birthed from that season was a company that's focused on confidence, me speaking literally all over the country. 2 books were birthed out of that. And while I could have, I guess Beyonce says it best when she said she turned lemons into lemonade. I could have just stayed there and sat in that pity party, but I decided to literally turn lemons into lemonade. I decided to go ahead, help other people, and me helping other people, me forgiving my ex, me forgiving myself, me forgiving my godfather for being on that motorcycle was the best thing that I could have done. It was hard. It was difficult. Lord knows it was difficult, but it was the best thing that I could have done. And so now, one of the things in terms of the book From Chaos to Confidence, I did not want to write that book because I'm a private person. And so I have to tell my business. I have to tell everything that happened. In this book, you want me to tell my business to everybody? I went ahead and I wrote it. And trust me, I fought, I kicked, I screamed, but I knew that I had to actually write the book. And the second book, Secrets of a Confident Teen, was birthed out of because I realized it didn't start here. It started when I was younger. My self-esteem issues, confidence issues, started when I was younger. And so a lot of times we get to the point where we're comparing ourselves. And I was comparing myself to my siblings. I'm the youngest of 5, and I was the heaviest of the 5. And I was comparing myself to them, and because I didn't know what to do, I actually developed anorexia. I stopped eating. I developed an eating disorder, anorexia, because I thought I had to be small and skinny in order to be beautiful. And I started having blackouts. I started having fainting spells. I had different issues with my iron levels and everything because I was comparing myself to other people instead of being comfortable and confident with who God created me to be. All of us are unique. All of us have a purpose. All of us have a plan. All of us have something special about us. And I just came to just quickly encourage you to never be ashamed of your story. Understand that whatever painful situation that you've been through can be used for purpose. Your misery can be used for ministry. Your tests, your trials can all help birth your testimony. And if you will allow it, if you will share your story, you will definitely help someone else. And that's probably sometimes is why we actually went through the things that we went through, to help somebody else. And it's up to us to reach back and help someone else. Thank you so much, everyone.